Well, welcome to all. We're sorry we're a little bit late today. I know it's a Monday, but I know it's late on a Monday. But Pat and I were both busy sun worshipping. Isn't that correct, Pat?
Yes,
In our respective
correct.
places, not together,
Yeah.
separately.
Separate places.
And why wouldn't we? Isn't it nice to see a few blinks of the sun, even at the end of summer? In fact, this is probably the best day. Yesterday, no, Saturday was the best day of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Sorry to
yeah,
rub it in, Pat.
yeah. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Right. What we're going to talk about, we hope very briefly in each of these, is Casement Park, Apple, and all the money they're dying to give away, Pat Finucane ruling about a public inquiry, and Mr. Donald A. Trump, President Donald A. Trump, who has once again taken a bullet for the people. Right. Let's start with Casement Park, Pat. Do you think it was a right thing to do for the British government to cut the cord and say, nope, it's not going to be part of Euro 28?
Jude, I think it's a massive own goal, and I also think there's a whole lot of there's about three different angles to this. Jude, the Euros was a great vehicle to sort of promote Northern Ireland. I know the north of Ireland, the six counties, Ulster, what you want to call it, for no matter who you were, whether you're Catholic, Protestant, Dissenter, Alliance, DUP, Sinn Féin, SDLP, didn't matter. Here was a chance to say we're a normal society now. We're even part of the sort of British Isles and a republic. It could have been sent in a message. We're joining with London and we're joining with Dublin, but we have our own wee sort of identity here by staging this Euros. And from the outset, your Jimmy Brysons, your Jim Allisters, and all the rest of are saying, "Oh no, not away, far too much money," and all the rest. Right? Other places got their money. The Windsor Park, Kingspan Rugby Park got it, etc., etc., etc. So, Jude, as far as I'm concerned, it is a massive own goal, but it's also, Jude, and I'm cutting this short, sending out a massive, massive message to even the soft nationalists. Because, Jude, I have zero doubt, had this been 400 million for Windsor Park to stage the Euros, there wouldn't have been a peek out of Jim Allister or a peep even, or Jimmy Bryant or all those guys who have been leading the charge. And there would have been wide arms or well open arms for the money. So, Jude, I think it sends out a message, and it's another nail in the coffin of Northern Ireland.
Exactly what I was going to say myself, Pat. You shot my fox before I could get that. I was listening this morning to Nolan, and actually Mark Simpson was in the chair for Nolan, and he talked to Chris Donnelly, and he said, "Oh, Chris has written an article in response to my piece, Mark Simpson's piece online in the BBC site, I suppose, and he's really got a sort of a complaint with me." And Chris came on and said, "No, I haven't a complaint with you at all. It's just that, you know, all the things that you covered, was one thing sort of left out, and that was sectarianism. A word that dare not speak its name. And that was at the heart of this. Well, there's two things at the heart of it, but one of them is not to leave out sectarianism. You'll not understand it. There was a guy on this morning saying, from somewhere saying, "Oh, they'll end up calling it the Bobby Story Park. And I'm certainly not going to go near it." So this whole thing of, imagine on the Falls Road, the Andersonstown Road, having an international stadium. Oh, wouldn't that be awful? And we would have to troop up on somehow or another. That'd be tugging the forelock to the Fenians. I just thought it was sort of disgusting. Having said that, I think the GAA didn't handle it well from the start. I think they're a bit clumsy. Because the problem is it went on, drifted on for so long, and the problem was the people around. And I think we've talked about this before. And I think Joe Brolly said a true take on it. He said the GAA should have gone to the people in the area, should have known, gone to each one of them and said, "We realize that this will be upsetting you a bit. There'll be occasional concerts, and to some extent the stadium might even overshadow you. But here's 50 grand per house." And if they'd done that, they would I can't imagine any house saying, "No, I'll not take 50 grand," or even 5 grand, whatever it took, because it would still be a bargain for them. And they would have had it built on time, but they didn't do that. But I think your point, Pat, is the one that's going to have lasting impact, and that is the refusal to build it. Having built the rugby one, having built the soccer one in Windsor Park, which I always thought was named after the Windsors, but I'm told that it's named after the district it is located in. But I wonder what was the district it's located in named after?
Named after, exactly.
So anyway, those two, yes. GA, no. So how not to make nationalists feel at home? In one easy step, that's it. They've done it. I think people will be mad as hell. I really do. Because by putting the date of the Euro 28 on it, it really made a deadline. You're going to have it that year, and it would have been fantastic.
Jude, they were talking about, I heard some of the people on, at a time when 400 million and all the rest of the waiting list. Jude, these people were complaining about the money for Casement Park way before the recent times. They've been complaining about it, that there was too much money and they didn't want it way back 2-3 years ago when the Tory government were in, long before these austerity measures announced by Labour. So they can drop that argument for a start.
Well, I think, as I say, I don't think the GAA handled it all that well, but at the heart of it really is, that's how most nationalists will perceive it. An act of sectarianism.
Well, I don't think anybody's got any doubt. The cheerleading coming from some of the, if you look at any of the social media, it's purely sectarian.
Yeah. And I suppose people like Mark Simpson from the BBC can't afford to start talking like that or to include that factor.
Mark's a very decent fella, and I have no problem with Mark. But he's a genuinely nice fella. But the point is, I'd say Mark has been a very good BBC person, is trying to walk a middle of the road. But to use your phrase, the thing that cannot speak its name is sectarianism. And Jude, the total reactions in the nationalist community is saying they're looking over at the unionists who did all as much possible to prevent this, and they're saying, here's another one. Jude, even the soft nationalists must be saying, wait a minute, there's nothing changed.
Yeah, absolutely. For something as neutral as this, and something that would have brought in money. That's the thing. It would have been bringing in money for everybody. I think there was an example of that somewhere that was cited this morning, where
Jude, there was actuaries or one of these financial houses did a survey on the pros and cons, the benefits, and and all that sort of stuff. And they said it was nowhere near this 400 million. The benefits that would accrue from having it would actually basically pay for itself within something like 5 years.
That's right. I know what it was now. It was American football that was played in Croke Park, I think, last weekend or the weekend before. And Chris Donnelly said they estimated that added something like 100 million to the economy.
Of the local area,
How silly can you be? Part of me laments that it's not going to be built, but another part of me, long term, says, "Well, that's fine, guys. That's another nail in the coffin of unionism." Yeah. Okay, let's go to Apple, the company that doesn't like to say no and loves to give away money, and in fact, is dying to give away 13 billion euro to the Irish government, the Dublin government. And for a long time, the Dublin government have been saying, no, don't give us the money. We don't want the money. But they've been forced to take it now. So what do you think, Pat? Is that
I laughed, Jude. The Dublin government says we don't make deals with private companies and so on. That is a laugh. The second thing is, Apple were quite willing to pay the money. And the fact that the Dublin government went along with them to help their case. The Dublin government spent I think it was 4 or 5 million quid a minimum on the legal case to fight not to get the money. Okay, here's one thing I have to say. The Dublin government said they're doing this on the basis that they're saying that all companies get treated equally. There's no deals, and they don't want the word going out that there's something shady going on in Ireland, that et cetera, et cetera. I can understand that, but Jude, according to the EU court, Apple should have paid Ireland 13 billion. I thought that if some outside court made the decision, why was Ireland joining Apple not to take it?
Well, I suppose the terror they have, the terror that rests at the heart of the whole economy in the South, is that these big tech companies will pull out. Because if they pull out, they're pulling the entire floor from underneath the Irish economy. So they're trying to be as nice to them as they can, and at the same time not seem as if they're breaking maybe EU rules. But I think they've been caught out on it. And in a way, it's sort of it's like a music hall joke or a French farce or something. Imagine the government breaking its arse, shall I say, breaking its arse not to take 13 billion. How would you spend it, Pat? How would you spend it?
Apparently they can't. I heard the Minister for Finance, Donoghue, on the other day saying they can't use it for everyday things. So they might put some of it apparently in a way in this for a rainy day fund. And there's several people in Donegal, not too far distance from me, who are saying it should be used to subvent the restoration of the Mica houses, which are possibly going to cost 3 to 5 billion quid. And by the way, which it's richly deserved. Like when you're building it, Jude, and you follow government regulations for planning and all the rest of it, the very thing that you think they should do their job is when you're buying blocks from a registered company that's supposed to be monitored by the government, that the blocks are worthy of the name. So
I'm interested in that, Pat. Are you saying that the builders acted in good faith? They weren't cutting any corners or anything with this?
Jude, I can't answer that. Like the day you can get me an answer that. The builders or the block makers are all saying we did nothing wrong. There are other people saying there must have been corners cut. Should you tell me? There's claim and counterclaim right, left, and centre, and I think there's even a couple of libel cases or defamation cases going on out there.
So there's the problem anyway, that the Irish government now has to take this 13 billion and not look too obviously as if they're going to bribe the public. But they're bribing the public in any case, because I see they're going to give extra money for childcare, extra money for a woman who's had a child. There's 50 euros and 100 euros being added right, left, and centre.
Dr. Combs, here, to interrupt you, I'm making a bet with you here and now that there'll be an election this side of Christmas.
Oh yeah.
They're talking about that little Harris or Big Harris, whatever the hell you like to call him, Taoiseach, says that he has every intention to run to next March. See, when the tides of fortune are running with you, the government, the Fine Gael party are up again in the polls yesterday. He is going to go to the country because you don't get. See, when there comes a tide in the affairs of man, to quote Willie Shakespeare.
Do you think that Sinn Féin's finally putting into place a clearly costed and massive plan for housing, do you think that will tip the balance for them? Will that bring them back?
Not the bike shed controversy in Dublin. That's fresh in my mind. 336,000 for a bike shed, what it should have cost at the very most 36. I know the what do you call it, the Children's Hospital is going to cost about 2.6 billion before it's finished. It started off about 600 million. There's a big case for competency and whatever, But then the other side of the story is this year they're going to have an 8 to 10 billion surplus, as far as I know. They're getting that 13 billion from Apple. There's plenty of coffers. They have promised even Casement Park still. They say the 15 million for Casement Park is still there. The money for the A5 is still there. They're going to be throwing out goodies right, left, and centre to single parents, to people on pensioners, and so on. So, Jude, you tell me, do you think there's going to be an election this side of Christmas? Of course
there is. But you think that'll swing people, or would people be too embarrassed almost?
I have very little doubt about it. Sinn Féin has lost its momentum for some reason. You need somebody with better political brains than I have. But, I think they got it wrong in that whole immigrant thing. I think they got it wrong in the asylum seeker thing. I think they got it wrong in the riots in Dublin. And as well as that, they just seem to have lost. At one stage, they couldn't get it wrong. Now they can't get it right.
I heard Mary Lou on this morning, I think, and she was saying that the people were, felt that they should be putting flesh onto the bones of the plans that they had, that they shouldn't be, just spend their time giving out about the government. Let's hear from. And she was saying, well, we've just done that for housing. But you're saying you don't think that'll be enough?
No, I don't think it'll be enough, Jude. No, the Sinn Féin are trying to make housing the sort of substantive plank of their whole campaign, and make it. Jude, it was more an issue maybe a year ago. the government have now got their skates on, even though the housing situation. So they're building a lot of houses. They're investing a lot of money in it. They're able to tell a story. We're building so many houses. Like, what do you expect? We can't magic houses. We're getting on top of the solution. It might be slow, but we're spending the money. We're putting in the plans. We've got the people. They can sell that story.
And I guess all those other goodies that they're giving to people in terms of benefits of one kind or another for child and mothers and so on. Oh, well, exactly. We shall all will become clear before Christmas, as you say, for sure. How much you prepared to bet, Pat?
50 quid, 50 quid, 50 quid.
50 quid. Maybe some of our viewers would take you up on that. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Hear that, you guys. Pat McGard wants to give you, just like Apple wants to give 13 billion to the Dublin government, Pat McGard wants to give you 50 quid. 50 euros or 50 quid, Pat.
Hey, Collins, I'll take you out for dinner and pay for it if I'm wrong.
Okay, yeah, I'll hold you to that. Right, third on the list, the Pat Finucane case. Oh, God. They finally, after a mere 35 years, is it? That they are going to have a public inquiry. And I am baffled, Pat, and I hope you'll be able to throw light on it. I don't understand why the Finucane family are so pleased, because it'll be a public inquiry which will reveal what is there left to reveal. They've acknowledged the fact that there was loyalists killed them. They know who the loyalist was. They have admitted that there was collusion. We know that the loyalist is going to name some RUC handlers they had, but that doesn't. The real answer, of course, lies: does the trail go to number 10 Downing Street?
Jude,
I'll tell you now, I'll bet £100, Pat, that trail will never go to number 10 Downing Street.
You see, Jude, that's a thing. You got in ahead of me on that one. That was the one answer I was going to give you. They really do believe that it went all the way up to probably cabinet level to sanction the killing of Pat Finucane. And Jude, there's a lot to suggest it did. The Dublin government many years ago, and I think our friend Ray Bassett was involved in, did a survey into the whole thing and an inquiry into it, an unofficial one. And then, Jude, the evidence at the time was sort of overwhelming. But the other thing, Jude, I heard some of the usual suspects saying why there's sort of a hierarchy of killings and all the rest of it. Jude, someone like 10,000 Republicans over the years, be it, or 10,000 people from the nationalist community, if I remember correctly, went through the courts on various offences. The British government, the difference between Pat Finucane is the British government claimed they were the law givers, not the law takers. And when you find out that the people who were supposed to be making the rules, sticking by the rules, and and all that sort of stuff, were up to their eyeballs and collusion and killings, that's the difference. And for anybody like Gavin Robinson to say there's a hierarchy of killings, that's deliberately distraction or misleading. The real case here was the cabinet of the British government aware that Pat Finucane was going to be killed?
I think actually I would tend to say that in a way Gavin Robinson's right about the hierarchy thing, because Pat Finucane wasn't just an ordinary guy in the street. He was a lawyer. He was a guy who helped administer justice in the state. And contrary to what Douglas Hogg said in the House of Commons 3 weeks before Pat Finucane was killed, he worked certainly for Republicans. He defended Republicans in court, and he defended loyalists in court.
Yeah.
Likewise, loyalist, paramilitaries. So I think the thing stinks so horribly. I mean, it's as clear as possibly can be of a case of corruption. But answer me this, Pat. Why would the Finucanes, who are smart and steeped in the law, why would they be so pleased now that they've got this public inquiry? Do they really believe that it's going to go to 10 Downing Street? Do they really believe that this government's going to say, oh, Maggie Thatcher sat in on this and she gave it the thumbs up?
No, Jude, I can't answer that question because, someone I sort of agree with you. I honestly don't know what they're going to get out of it. They don't already know. In fact, I think they know the answer to the question, that it did go all the way up to almost the highest level, if not the very highest level, that the British government was aware of it, did nothing about it. And Jude, the point is, and to answer you, they will never admit publicly that they didn't know. And I don't know what the Finucanes think they're going to get out of it. But the only thing is, Jude, it possibly will embarrass the British government. But 35 years on, how good's that?
I mean, again, it's another example. If anything, if it does reveal any wee bit more, it'll simply remind people, certainly nationalists or Republicans, of the terrible injustice that happened there and how the British government had to be dragged kicking and screaming to the point where they'd allow a public inquiry. My God, Anyway, finally, Pat, let's move to Donald J. Trump, who is a man who took a bullet for America and nicked his ear. He said he took a bullet.
By the way, still no scar of that ear, which is, Jude, something. There's a friend of mine. He's an American, and he's on social media, and he's not. But he made the point. He says, "I'm getting totally suspicious of this whole thing." He says, "This guy was the latest guy was." He says, "about 400 yards away." He said he had a rifle, so on, and he says, "Well, maybe it'll turn out to be different." But he says, "It just doesn't seem how convenient that after Trump's absolutely desperate performance against Kamala Harris, here's another attempt at his life, trying to shift the agenda back onto Trump, that here I have to make America great again, and look at these Democrats out to I have to save America. We've got to get the rules back in. We've got to get the white man back in control and all that sort of stuff." Jude, I don't know, but the whole thing strikes me as a setup. It really genuinely does, because what's it about?
I tend to agree with you, Pat, although it does seem so outrageous that it would be a setup. But we know from him being on the stage, we never saw him take the bullet. He said his earlobe while pointing to the top of his ear. When you look at that ear, that seems perfectly fine to me. That both his ears look very healthy.
There's no sign of any injury to his ear. None.
And this guy, this guy that took the latest shot at him, he was carrying something like an AK-47.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what kind of a bad shot is he that he would miss?
That's ridiculous, dude. No, the whole thing is, he gets this positive and he comes up and starts mouthing fight. Dude, he's a coward. Everybody knows he's a coward. So someone tells me that was a pre-arranged sort of setup.
Yeah, I definitely
did they con some poor wee patsy, some guy who had maybe some sort of illness, to take a shot at him, and then they killed him. And by the way, I've noticed a lot of the Americans, they shoot the guys who might tell a story that I was set up. They always died. They
haven't killed this guy. I don't think they killed this guy. I think he has been arrested. I was listening to an account of it today, and they quoted from Trump, and his statement this time was, "Nothing will slow me down."
Yeah.
The last time it was fight.
He wants to be the John Wayne of the 2024 election campaign. Make America great. What absolute bollocks.
Yeah. He one of his spokesmen was on as well, and they said, this guy said, I mean, this just goes beyond satire. This is a man who's a spokesman for Donald J. Trump, and he said, "There's a lot of crazy people in this country."
On that brilliant note, I'm away.
He clearly doesn't do irony. Okay, Pat, good talking to you.
All the best, Jude.
Look after yourself.
Talk to you again.
Right, bye.
See you, Jude.